Commissioner Rob Manfred reinstates Pete Rose. Let's talk about it. So news came out this week, stunning news came out this week, that Rob Manfred reinstated Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and 17 other players from Major League Baseball's banned list. They are no longer banned, which means they can be eligible for Cooperstown. And Pete Rose's exclusion from Cooperstown has been one of the most hotly contested topics in sports for years. And Pete Rose never did himself any favors. He obviously cheated the game of baseball by gambling, and both games he did and did not play in and that kind of stuff. But now, upon his passing, he is eligible for the Hall of Fame. Many believe that's where he belongs. In a statement, and I'm not going to read the whole statement, Rob Manfred said, "In my view, once an individual has passed away, the purposes of Rule 21 have been served. Obviously, a person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game. Moreover, it is hard to conceive of a penalty that has more deterrent effect than one that lasts a lifetime with no reprieve. Therefore, I have concluded that the permanent ineligibility ends upon the passing of the disciplined individual, and Mr. Rose will be removed from the permanently ineligible list." And there's more to this statement. I'm not going to read it, but Rob Manfred's logic is because Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and others have passed on, they are no longer banned from the game. And I've had my thoughts on Pete Rose's eligibility before. I've written a blog post on it on EmpireSportsTalk.com, but I've been as conflicted as many others have about whether or not he should be allowed in the Hall of Fame. And I think Mike Greenberg this morning on ESPN, at the time that we're recording this, had a response that I think best sums up the way that I feel about the situation. Greenberg said, "A lifetime ban from employment in the game of baseball was an appropriate punishment for betting on baseball, but I never thought that should have extended to the Hall of Fame." And that makes sense to me. I think, because the way I look at it is that aside from the whole banning thing, because that's done with, he's now eligible, we have kept players like Rafael Palmeiro, Jose Canseco, Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds, and Roger Clemens out of the Hall of Fame because of their use of steroids, because of the way that we feel that they cheated the game. Now, there's a huge difference between what they did and what Pete Rose did. Let's stick solely with Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is being kept out of the Hall of Fame, at least at this time, because, yes, he statistically should be in there, along with everybody else that's being kept out for steroids, should be in there. But the thing that he did to, in many people's minds, disgrace the game of baseball directly influenced the numbers that he put up. Some would argue, I'd say successfully, that Barry had a Hall of Fame career before he ever even took steroids. He won MVPs with Pittsburgh. He had 30-30 seasons. He did these things with Pittsburgh. And then we saw the growth and the drastic changes. So many people would argue he had an MVP career before that, but then he tarnished it. Same with Roger Clemens. But his stain on the game directly influenced his statistics. My argument with Pete Rose is, yes, he bet on the game of baseball. Yes, he bet on games that he played in. But Pete Rose is the all-time hits leader. He's at the top, if not the top, in games played. He didn't take steroids. He's the all-time hits leader. And if you were betting on baseball against your team, you would be pulling punches. You would be doing what Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Chicago White Sox did in 1919. You would be throwing games. You would be negatively affecting the outcomes of games. Pete Rose is baseball's all-time hit leader. His nickname is Charlie Hustle. Despite what you think of Pete Rose the person, Pete Rose played the game of baseball at 110% all the time. There's an old saying that if you grew up a fan of a team, your favorite players in baseball at that time, your favorite players in baseball were either on your team or Pete Rose. Pete Rose the player was beloved because of how he played the game. Pete Rose the man made a lot of mistakes and did not make it easy on himself when he had been given multiple opportunities while he was alive after he had been banned to ingratiate himself to Major League Baseball and get a chance to come back. He never got out of his own way. But Pete Rose the player was an all-time hit leader, a World Series champion, an all-star. Pete Rose the player deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because his blemish on the game did not affect how he hustled, how he hit the ball. And it is a shame that the game's all-time hit leader is not in the Hall of Fame. And you could say, oh, but you're saying it's a shame the all-time hit leader isn't in the Hall of Fame, but neither is the all-time home run leader. As I stated, Barry Bonds is the all-time home run leader directly because of what he did to, quote-unquote, disgrace the game of baseball. There is a difference. Pete Rose is not the all-time hit leader because he bet on baseball. Barry Bonds is the all-time home run leader because he took steroids. There's a difference. So I do believe, because of what I stated, because Pete Rose played the game at 100% all the time, and his stats prove that Pete Rose, the player, should be allowed in the Hall of Fame, and I do believe he eventually will be, because there are many who vote who believe the same thing. Buster Olney probably offered the solution when he said that they should induct Pete into the Hall of Fame, but put a caveat on his plaque stating that he was at one time banned from baseball. But that is my 2 cents about Pete Rose being lifted from the banned list. Let me know in the comments what you think about the ever embroiled legacy of Pete Rose. Until the next video, I'm Roman Gennaro. This is Empire Sports Talk, and I'll see you on the next one.